That was a hard question to answer. Don't I just go into the dream realm, kill a few monsters to complete the first nightmare, receive magic powers, and become an awakened? The old policeman shook his head.
Listen carefully. Once you fall asleep, you'll be transported into your first nightmare. The nightmares are sort of like trials, challenges created by the spell. Once inside, you'll meet monsters, horrible creatures who will test you, fight you, try their damnedest to break you. But you'll also meet people. They aren't worth trusting either. Your best bet is to fight for yourself. Remember, they are not real. They're just illusions conjured up to test you.
How do you know? The policeman just stared at him. I mean, no one understands what the spell is and how it works, right? So, how do you know that they're not real?
You might have to kill them, kid. So, do yourself a favor and just think about them as illusions.
Oh. The old policeman waited for a second, then nodded and continued.
A lot of things about the first nightmare depend on luck. Generally, it shouldn't be overwhelmingly hard. The situation you're in, the tools you have at your disposal, and the creatures you have to defeat should be within the range of your abilities at least. After all, the spell sets up trials, not executions. You're a bit disadvantaged due to, well, your circumstances. But kids from the outskirts are tough. Don't give up on yourself.
Uh-huh. Sonny was getting more and more sleepy. It was becoming hard to follow the conversation.
About those magic powers you mentioned, you will indeed receive them if you survive until the end of the nightmare. What those powers will be exactly depends on your natural affinity as well as what you do during the trial. But some of it will be at your disposal right from the start.
The voice of the old policeman sounded more and more distant. Sonny's eyelids were so heavy that he was struggling to keep his eyes open.
Remember, the first thing you must do once inside the nightmare is to check your attributes and your aspect. If you get a combat-oriented aspect, something like a swordsman or an archer, things will be easier. If it is reinforced by a physical attribute, then that's even better. Combat aspects are the most common, so the probability of receiving one is high.
The armored room was growing dimmer.
If you're unlucky, and your aspect has nothing to do with combat, don't despair. Sorcery and utility aspects are useful in their own ways. You'll just have to be smart about it. There are really no useless aspects. Well, almost. So just do anything in your power to survive. If you survive, you'll be halfway to becoming an awakened. But if you die, you'll open a gate for a nightmare creature to appear in the real world. Which means that my colleagues and I will have to deal with it, so please, don't die sunless.
Already half asleep, Sonny felt a bit touched by the policeman's words.
Or at least try not to die right away. The nearest awakened won't be able to get here for a few hours, so we would really appreciate it if you don't make us fight that thing ourselves.
What? With that last thought, Sonny finally slipped into a deep slumber. Everything became black, and then, in the darkness, a faintly familiar voice rang.
Aspirant, welcome to the nightmare spell. Prepare for your first trial.
Sonny dreamt of a mountain, jagged and lonesome. It dwarfed other peaks of the mountain chain, cutting the night sky with its sharp edges. A radiant moon bathed its slopes in the ghostly pale light. On one of the slopes, the remnants of an old road stubbornly clung to the rocks. Here and there, paved stones could be seen through the snow. They were worn and showed signs of weathering. A sheer cliff face formed an impregnable wall to the right side of the road. On the left, a silent black sea of nothingness indicated an endless fall. Strong winds crashed into the mountain over and over again, screaming in powerless rage. Suddenly, the moon fell over the horizon. The sun rose from the west, streaked across the sky, and disappeared in the east. Snowflakes jumped from the ground and returned to the embrace of the clouds. Sonny realized that he was seeing the flow of time in reverse. In an instant, hundreds of years flew by. The snow retreated, bearing the old road. Cold shivers ran down Sonny's back as he noticed human bones littering the ground. A moment later, the bones were gone, and in their place, a slave caravan appeared, moving backward down the mountain. The clamoring of chains echoed hauntingly through the peak. Time slowed, stopped, and then resumed its usual pace. A loud voice boomed in Sonny's ears.
Aspirant, welcome to the nightmare spell. Prepare for your first trial.
Sonny searched around for the source of the voice, but saw nothing. What the hell was that? With nothing and no one to guide him, Sonny began to walk along the snowy mountain path. Step, step, another step. A dull ache was radiating through Sonny's bleeding feet as he was shivering from the cold. His threadbare tunic was nearly useless against the biting wind. There was a sudden jolt of pain from his wrists. Sonny looked down to see that he was now wearing iron shackles. The frozen metal rubbed on his raw and broken skin, sending sharp pangs of pain with his every step. No, I can't be part of the caravan. This isn't what the dream realm is supposed to be like. Sonny looked up and down, noticing a long chain winding up the road, with dozens and dozens of hollow-eyed people, slaves, just like him, shackled to it at small intervals. A man with broad shoulders and a bloodied back walked with a measured gait ahead of him. Behind him, a shifty-looking guy with quick, desperate eyes quietly cursed under his breath in a language that Sonny did not know but somehow understood. From time to time, armed horsemen in ancient-style armor would pass by, giving the slaves menacing looks. Sonny expected the first nightmare to be bad, but this wasn't like anything he anticipated. He was more bewildered than panicked. Usually, freshly chosen aspirants would find themselves in a scenario that presented them with a fair amount of agency. They would become members of privileged or warrior castes, with plenty of access to necessary weapons to at least try to tackle any conflict. Starting as a powerless slave, shackled and already half dead, was as far from being ideal as one could imagine. However, the spell was as much about challenge as it was about balance. As the old policeman said, it created trials, not executions. So Sonny was pretty sure that to counter this abysmal start, it would reward him with something good, a powerful aspect at least. Let's see, how